When I think the greatest player in or greatest, really the greatest in anything, any particular sport, field, whatever you want to talk about, business, I think the most accomplished.
Mm.
And so that's how I think about the greatest. Who has accomplished the most in this sport? So when I think about basketball and I'm saying who is the greatest player of all time, who is the GOAT, who is the greatest, I want to know, or I am speaking on who is the most accomplished because we define greatness by what you've accomplished, what you've done in your time or whatever. So when I say like we talk about Mike, we say why Mike is the GOAT for most people. Some people say LeBron, some people might say Kobe, some people might say Kareem, whatever. But for I would say the majority of people still would consider Mike the GOAT.
Mhm.
And so why do we say that? Mike is by far and above the most accomplished player. Now we can say all we want to about skill and talent and who was around him, how good was the league, whatever you want to say. Mike is the most accomplished player, and it's a lot of variables in that. Like everybody talk about errors and stuff like that, but I don't like to get into all that.
Yeah.
Mike has the most accolades. All right, Mike got 6 rings, went to the final 6 times, won all 6 times, so he's 6-0, never lost in the finals. That's big. Can't nobody else say that. Then you talk about MVPs. He got 5 of them, second most. Then you talk about you go into records, scoring titles, whatever. He got a defensive player of the year.
Hmm.
Only 3 players ever won an MVP and a defensive player of the year. Only he has won it in the same year. Won MVP and defensive player of the year in the same year. I think. I'm pretty sure. Or did Hakeem Olajuwon do that?
I say it sound like Dream. I think
Yeah.
Dream
So
might have.
so him and Hakeem was
Let me
only
check.
two. Yeah, check that for us. Fact check that for us. But those are accomplishments. Mike got scoring titles. Mike got Mike got all the playoff. Well, he had all the playoff records for a moment for a while. You know, and that those are accomplishments. He dominated his era. You got the facts for us?
So it's actually three players. I know you'll be happy about this. So, of
Oh,
course, Jordan, Dream, and your boy
and
Giannis.
Giannis. So dang, I did not think of that he won the MVP and defense player in the same year. I knew he was one of the three who had won it, but I didn't know it was in the same year. But yeah, so Mike is the most accomplished. Is safe to say. So that's why we consider him the GOAT. He is
Hmm.
the greatest player. So let me go ahead and lock it in. When I say greatest, the greatest player, the being the greatest means being the most accomplished in the sport. You have accomplished the most out of everybody that's ever played. You have accomplished more than anybody else before and after you.
Hmm.
So when somebody accomplishes more than Mike, we can start calling him the GOAT or the greatest. Now, some people argue that LeBron has, but we value, that's when we get into what you consider greatness. Like, what do you consider more valuable than others? Do you consider titles? Do you consider records? Do you consider, winning? Do you consider whatever stats? But but still for me though, the definition of the greatest is the most accomplished in the sport. So that's my definition of the greatest. So what how would you define the greatest in anything or in basketball?
Yeah, I gotta go very similar to what you said, but I'm gonna add a little more to it. So for me, the greatest is like you said, the accomplishments that a player has, but it's also like the folklore to him, like the man, the myth, the legend. Like it's like man, man, you know that Jordan jumped from the 3 point line and dunked, man. He didn't have the free throw, the 3 point line. Like, oh snap, like, oh man, he averaged 80 points in his sleep. Like the little stuff is just like he did what? Like it's just like you gotta scratch your head at being like, man, he did what? It's like the folk tales around, like it's the myth of just like, man, I heard when Jordan was in college, He beat everybody with his left hand in his sleep, and it's just like little stuff like that adds to like the greatness of a player. It's like it's almost
Yeah,
like a
facts.
gray area type of thing. It's just like you can't really stats play a role into it, but that's just one half of it. Like the stats, as far as like the numbers you put up, the records you have, the awards, and all that stuff like that. That's play half role into your greatness. But I think the other half of it is just like the the storytelling of what you have. Because like the other, for me personally, you can't put the storytelling in the other two titles of what we're talking about for the today. So for me personally, like the storytelling of what you've done adds to what your greatness is. That's part of what makes you the GOAT. So it's like, man, Bill Russell, he played I think 16 seasons or 13 seasons, something like that, and he won 11 rings. It's like, wait, what? Dog, that's crazy. Like you really like Wilt Chamberlain put up 50 and he did what? 50 and 50. He put up 100. He did 100 points in one game and 55 rebounds. Oh snap! He got how many records? Like it's just like little stuff like that. It's like you watch an NBA game, they be like, he's the first player to do this since Wilt Chamberlain and Michael Jordan, Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell, since Jordan and Bird. It's like it's always like if your name's always mentioning that, that's add to part of your greatness. That's part of what makes you the GOAT. So it's like, yes, there are accomplishments, your stats and your numbers and stuff, but it's also for me, it's like the folklore and the storytelling around your name is for me what plays a role in your greatness. So that's why Jordan is always mentioned because he has both of them. He has the stats. Like he averaged 32 or 33, 34, whatever it was. And in the finals, he stepped it up to like 36. And he got the defensive player of the year, MVP. He's the only player to have all these awards and records in a year. He has, top five in all these statistical categories and all this stuff. He's the only player to do these things. And it's just like, you want to like you said, you want to nitpick with LeBron about what this stuff is. Like when you talk about greatest, you got to throw LeBron in that conversation too. Because yes, you can nitpick and say he's 6 for 6 in the finals, but LeBron went to 10 of them. Like that's also very difficult. That's a folklore type thing too. To be in 10 for half of your career, you're in the finals. Like that's just mind blowing alone. So like for me, it's not just the stats and the numbers that we can point, like the black and white part that we can point to and just be like, statistically, awards and accomplishment wise, this player is great. But it's also the storytelling, the gray area, the storytelling part that adds up. Now, granted, this is a little iffy because you can juice up certain stuff and be like, man, Jordan did this, like the flu game type stuff.
Hmm.
There's some debates around what the actual truth is. Like, was that he just hungover and drunk? Was it food poisoning? Was it, what I mean? Like, what was the actual truth around that? But regardless, he still performed in spite of what that was. You feel me? So little stuff like that just adds to people's resume. It's like the little stuff like Jordan never had a game 7 in the finals. Uh, little stuff like that you can nitpick and salt and pepper into somebody's, throw a little extra season into their career and with a storytelling about it. So for me, that's what makes a GOAT. That's what makes the player be the greatest of their sport or all time, whatever. So for me personally, that's the definition of it. It's like the accomplishments and the stats of black and white, but also the gray area of what you have accomplished. And as far as the storytelling mode of it, like the folklore and the folk tales of what you've done. So for me personally, that's how you can define the GOAT.
Would you say that's kind of like impact or like impact on the culture? Like, would you consider that like being part of the culture, like that folklore and stuff? Because that's like if we like getting away from basketball, like if we talking about like folklore, like old like wise tales and stuff, that's part of like culture in real life. You know what I'm saying? So would you say having your impact on the game of basketball or on basketball culture is part of being great, or is part of your greatness?
Yes, but yeah, I'll say yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I will. Because I was gonna say no, but that does play a role. Like I said, it's both halves of it too.
Mm.
Because AI, culture wise, that man, you cannot. We talk about all the time. We writing the history book of the NBA and basketball. That man has a chapter dedicated to him. Like
Facts.
is a big part. Like the books of the Bible, there's the book of Allen somewhere in it, the book of Iverson in that mug. So, but he's missing the other half of it. Is why he's not a GOAT because he doesn't have
Mm.
the awards and the resume building part of like Allen Iverson won MVP, scoring title, a
Went to
finals
the
appearance.
finals.
Like that's you know what I mean. That's almost it. So,
Mm,
but Allen Iverson won 2 MVPs, 3 scoring titles, won 2 championships. And he revolutionized the game with the handles and the off the court appearance, all this other stuff. Okay, now we're starting to creep him up in the conversations of GOATs, and he's sitting at a different table now. He's a higher rank at this table now. So, but just to say you had an impact on the game, it's like not to knock it, but it's like you're not in the full conversation. You're in half of it. You reach the folklore and impact of it, but you're not having the black and white. So if I stripped your name off and we looked at strictly black and white of statistic and resume, who did what? That's one half of the GOAT conversation. Like you can't have any emotional feelings tied to it. Now you're looking like, oh snap, like Allen Iverson's career is not that great. He only averaged, I don't know, maybe 30, somewhere around there, high 20s. The last few years might have brought him down a bit, but take that away, he averaged high 20s. So it's like, it's not that great, you know. So put back the color back on. Oh snap, Allen Iverson, he's a GOAT. You know, he's legendary. Da 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 da. So I think that does play a big role into it because Jordan's impact on the game is major, you know. So
mm.
you gotta look at the impact of it too. So that's part of what a player's greatness is.
Yeah, I have been on record, especially with some of my own boys, as saying like we get back on the COVID thing. Y'all just get ready. Like let you know beforehand. I used to tell people all the time. Well, I still do every now and then. People normally throw Kobe Bryant in GOAT debates because of storylines. Not storylines, but like
Emotion.
Kobe got that folklore and that cultural impact. He got that factor working for him, working in his
Mm-hmm.
favor when it comes to the GOAT debate. Because to be real with you, Kobe, top three most impactful players ever. Like when you talk about basketball culture, I would say probably Mike, AI, Kobe. Like them three, the most impactful basketball players in my mind. And then Steph kind of up there because of how he revolutionized the game with the three ball, and Bron up there just because the game
Yeah.
changed when he came in to almost hit how guys kind of want to be able to be point guards even though they big and strong and fast. But anyway, back to Kobe. I feel like a lot of times guys throw Kobe in that because of his folklore, his the legend that is Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba, the
Mm-hmm.
Mamba mentality, the 81 points, the buzzer beaters, the clutch shots, the big shots, the biting on the jersey,
Mm-hmm.
everything, the fadeaways, the fearlessness, you know what I'm saying? Guarding the best player, stuff like that. All the Kobe stories, the hundreds of Kobe stories. I love Kobe stories. Like I love when NBA players be on other people like podcasts or whatever, or be in interviews, and they'd be like that played with Kobe or played against Kobe, and they'd be like, "Give us your best Kobe story."
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing. Like just like they ask older players, hey man, so what was it like playing against MJ? What was your best MJ story? Guys that played with Mike, what's your best Mike story? Like what was it like playing with Mike? So like only a few guys get that.
Mm-hmm.
Like folks ain't out here asking like, man, so what was it like to play with Andre Iguodala? It's like we don't care, bro. But you play with Mike, even if it was like for 1 or 2 years, because like they asked guys that played with the Wizards when Mike was there in the early
Mm-hmm.
2000s, what was it like to play with Mike? What was it like with Mike there?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's only a few guys get that. That's part of folklore and that's part of legend. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of guys throw Kobe in the GOAT debate because of that. How did Kobe make them feel watching them play basketball? It's something to be said about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when their team was down two and Kobe came down court and four flatted everybody. I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. I got it. Trey ball, like over the top, whatever. And he did stuff like that, and it made us forget. It makes you almost forget about the shots that he missed, the big shots that he missed, didn't make whatever, and they lost games because of. Well, it ain't Kobe fault they lost, but I'm saying like the big shots that he missed.
Yeah.
He said it though. He was like, man, they gonna be mad at you. They'll hate you when you miss it, but then they gonna love you when you make the next one. So shoot it every time.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just how it is. So I feel like that was working in Kobe's favor a lot too, because like you said about AI did he had this legend in the folklore and the impact on basketball on his side. On the and with that side of it, he a goat, like he top three.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get to add in the accolades and the stats and the accomplishments, and then he just don't measure up to them other guys.
Yeah.
But Mike and Kobe, they up there in that factor, and that yeah, because Kobe got both too.
Mm-hmm.
He got both in his favor, so that's why a lot of people throw him in there. I don't think LeBron really got the folklore impact legend that them guys got. They just don't. He just don't.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about LeBron. He doesn't like if you stripped away statistically what he's done. I think
Mm.
his folklore is more of like his athleticism not declining. Like him in year
Oh yeah.
20 looking like year 10 still of him, his IQ and his memory and but that's not enough to just be like nobody wants to be like LeBron. Like it's hard to replicate what LeBron is and what he does. Like his impact is really more off the court as far as technically on the court, but as far as like taking care of your body. Like it's been well reported that he's invested $1 billion a year. I don't know how true that still is today, but whenever year that came out, I think he was in Miami at that point. He invested $1 billion into his body and his health and everything, and how he takes care of himself, the eating, like that part of what his impact kind of is to the game. But we talked about it before with the Redeem team talk of how Kobe might have really influenced LeBron doing more of that. He just took what Kobe did. Like Kobe took what Jordan did right to this level. LeBron said, Kobe, you doing what? So I'm taking it from here and taking it to here. So LeBron might be the face of it, but the father of it is Kobe. The grandfather might be Jordan, depending on what we're
Mm.
talking about here. So
Facts.
in that reference, I'll probably give it to Kobe. Kobe might be the forefather of it, the OG of that level of doing things. But technically, I ain't finna go down the rabbit hole. But look, LeBron doesn't really have the folkloreism to him, and some of that's because he's been knocked so long for not being a clutch player. But that shot he had against the Magic in '08 or '09, it's up
Mm.
there. That little float he had, it was kind of ugly, but it still went in. Um, I don't remember what year it was, but he was with the Cavs at that point too. You
Against the
know,
Pacers. I think that was 2018.
I don't think it's Pacers. I think it was the
Talking about the floater going left, he floated with the right, hit the glass.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was against the Pacers. Not the Paul George Pacers, the Victor Oladipo Pacers.
Oh yeah. Because I'm thinking like Pacers. Nah, that was like
Nah, nah,
2013 when
nah,
they was
nah,
good. So you might be right. It
nah.
might be them. I was thinking Raptors, but the point is, that shot. I mean, he doesn't have too many things like that to where it's like he doesn't have the buzzer beaters like that. He has a couple floaters and little shots here and there, but he doesn't have enough of it to be like Kobe. We got highlight after highlight after highlight after highlight. Jordan, we got highlight after highlight after highlight. We can endlessly go on like the impact that he has. Nobody's emotionally tied to LeBron like that. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of tough. His impact is really more off the court, the business mindset, and him making
Oh
it more
yeah.
acceptable for players to move around and like now is you're an anomaly if a player's on the team for his whole career. Like Dame and Brad Beal and Curry, maybe Draymond and Clay, like you're an anomaly now to be on your team for your whole career. So LeBron's he's the face of making that a shift. Him and KD really. So LeBron's greatness isn't tied to that half of he doesn't have the color part of it, the flavor and the seasoning to make his greatness stand out. It's really the folklore of like, bro, you've been to the finals half of your career.
Facts.
Like that's the bulk of what you can say about him. So it's not like, man, he don't put the fear in you like that. So it's like it's little stuff like that that just kind of throws his step down when we talk about because you say the most impactful players in the game, LeBron's maybe fifth, like all time. LeBron's probably fifth. So
Facts.
it's I don't know, but that's a interesting thought to have. Like LeBron's one of the greatest players of all time, but he doesn't have that half of his. That's probably the one real blemish of his career that he doesn't have like that level of impact on the game. So that's an interesting thought, man.
Yeah, I just it's something I've thought about for a while. But get kind of getting back on topic. So
Yeah,
just taking what you said, taking what I said. I would say our joint definition, B-Ball Jones podcast definition of greatness, and you can let me know if I'm wrong or whatever. Greatest is the most accomplished and most impactful player, or joint of those two. So the player with the most accomplishments and you know and impact on the game, or
that's
biggest impact on the game.
that's a fair, definite like a sentence structure of
Mm,
what the GOAT is like you said, their accomplishments and their impact. I think that's a fair definition to throw behind what makes a GOAT a GOAT. So like, okay, now I just thought about this. So now let's remove basketball, the GOAT
mm.
of football. Who could you throw in that conversation? I know it's really tough because you got 22, 22 different positions. So it's like that's a whole different debate we can go down. But like just throwing out some people that you love and adore, but like who could you say a GOAT of football is?
Tom Brady, obviously.
Yep.
Some people be like Joe Montana,
Mm-hmm.
and some people say Lawrence Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, some people say Barry Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
Those are just a couple guys.
So is the accomplishments tied to the impact of the game is what makes them the GOAT. And I feel like football heads would completely agree with those guys. So like, yeah, Jerry Rice is a GOAT when we're talking about football. Randy
Mm,
Moss is a GOAT when we're talking about football. Like T.O., maybe. I think he's debatable. But like legit growing up, bro, you got Milestone. Everybody knew what that meant. Like that's common language. Like he's part of the culture for life, bro. You got Milestone.
facts.
Like your name is literally synonymous with the game. Like that's just crazy to me sometimes, bro. Like there's nothing like that with basketball where it's like you got Shaq on. Like what? What are you talking about? Like you got Jordan. Uh, what? Like you don't have a thing like that. Like literally football, you got Milestone. Everybody, if you're a football player, I mean football player. I don't identify myself with that. But growing up playing with the neighborhood boy, oh you Milestone, like little stuff like that, it's just too close. Then he got the stats and everything tied to it. So Moss is a GOAT. And he's in that conversation about it. Lawrence Taylor, hands down one of the greatest defensive players to touch the turf. So it's just like I feel like that's a fair definition to throw in there. Like I feel like that's synonymous with GOAT conversations of anything and everything. So your accolades and accomplishments are tied to your impact. I think those two put together is what makes a GOAT in any field, any conversation, whatever. So that's what a GOAT is. Your accomplishments tied to your impact.
Yeah. It's almost like a formula. Accomplishments plus impact equals greatness.
See, we just can't. Hey man, we got to trademark and patent that one, bro. So I can't put it out till we get the to get the legals. So
Hey, facts. Put that on the t-shirt. Hey,
uh,
accomplishments plus impact
yep.
equals greatness.
Hey, hey,
So,
hey, why are you playing? I might make that a whole thing. You feel me? Like,
hey man, let's see how many views this episode get.
hey. Hey, y'all comment below,
Oh,
man. If y'all feeling that and y'all buy that shirt, let us know and I can make something work. You feel me? So put the comments below. Matter of fact, I'm gonna try to make this a clip for social media. If y'all want that to
facts.
be a thing, let me know and we can finesse something for y'all, and make that work. But uh hey, we might be on to something, bro. I'm just letting you know.
Might be. I like it though. I like this. I like it already.
So mental toughness is one of the biggest things that I know pretty much every coach preaches to the players, and also one of the biggest factors in the players' game is the mental toughness. So I know that a lot of coaches wish their players would be mentally tougher, and they struggle with teaching them and understanding, what mental toughness is to apply it to the game. So to help you guys out, I wrote a whole ebook breaking down what mental toughness is, different factors that make up what mental toughness is, and different ways that you can apply it to your life and your game, because it's a good blend of the player and the person of how both sides you can grow in your mental toughness. So I broke it down in the ebook, the Mental Toughness Playbook. The whole ebook is about 50 pages, a little less than 50 pages, easy to read, a simple breakdown of what mental toughness is, different factors and different areas in it that impact your mental toughness, and how you can grow and develop in there. So if you're interested in it, send a description below. So go ahead and look into hit that link and invest into yourself by investing into your mindset and mental toughness. Because I personally believe that your brain and your mind is so much powerful than you give it credit. So invest into your mindset, and then your body will follow afterwards. So the Mental Toughness Playbook, get the ebook below. If you tune into it, thank you. I appreciate it. If not, it's fine. Get back to the rest of the episode. See you later.